third reading of our Iliad Readers Theater is titled The War at Troy. Now, I think it's important to note that, this part of the Iliad kind of flashes forward. So the war has been going on for 9 years. It's currently in its 10th year. Now, this specific story starts out with a plague. Okay, there's a plague being sent down to the Greek armies because of Apollo. Apollo is the one that is sending the plague, which is causing sickness and death for a lot of Greek soldiers. Now, the reason for Apollo sending this plague, I'm going to try my best to explain this over video, but basically there are things called concubines during the war, which are just essentially women that are enslaved by soldiers to be waiting for them for when they come home from battle. So that's about as PG as I'll keep it. But the reason that Apollo is sending this plague is because King Agamemnon had a concubine named Chryseis. Now, Chryseis is the daughter of a priest that worships Apollo. So that was kind of Apollo's way of getting back at Agamemnon for essentially kidnapping and stealing the daughter of one of his priests. And that's why he sends the plague. Now, this leads to Achilles refusing to fight for Agamemnon, because once Achilles kind of convinces Agamemnon to give Chryseis back to end the plague, Agamemnon just goes in and takes Achilles' concubine named Briseis. After Achilles kind of throws his hissy fit and refuses to fight because Agamemnon stole his concubine, Thetis comes to Achilles. Now remember that Thetis is Achilles' mother, all right? She shows a lot of motherly characteristics toward Achilles simply by just nurturing him and trying to always do what's best for him, which is trying to protect him. So she really wants him to just leave the battlefield. She wants him to leave and return home to really stick it to Agamemnon. However, Achilles refuses to do that. So Thetis goes up, talks to Zeus. She seduces him, and essentially she is asking Zeus to reach out to Agamemnon and tell Agamemnon that the Greeks must attack Troy the next day. And Agamemnon at first is kind of against this because he doesn't have Achilles, but he eventually listens to Zeus and decides to attack Troy the next day. Now, we really kind of go in depth and get to see Hector, who is Paris's brother. He is also a prince of Troy, and his thoughts and feelings about the war. He even has some suggestions. He is kind of really sick of the war. Obviously, it's been 9 years, and he is feeling like it is kind of useless. I think he's really actually kind of pretty upset and mad that Paris, who essentially started the war when he decided to steal Helen, or accept his reward of Helen, kind of just sits at home and does nothing while Hector is out fighting. So we kind of see Hector get frustrated with Paris, since this war is all about him, but yet he doesn't fight at all. So he makes one suggestion to his father. His suggestion on how to end the war is to have a one-on-one fight between Paris and King Menelaus, since it's really between them anyways. Paris stole Menelaus' wife. So they should have a one-on-one duel, and the winner gets Helen and the war is over. Pretty reasonable solution. If you guys would like, you may go and click this link in the notes that I will tag along, and you can watch the Troy version from the movie Troy of Menelaus versus Paris. It's a little bit different than our reading since the movie doesn't have any of the gods or goddesses in it. Now, there is a lot of interference with immortals There's a lot of interference of immortals during this war. So I think it's important to note who is siding with the Trojans and who is siding with the Greeks. The most notable immortals that have sides is Aphrodite sides with the Trojans, and Hera and Athena side with the Greeks. And that's mainly just because Paris, who's a Trojan, chose Aphrodite as the fairest. So that's why she protects Paris, and that's why Athena and Hera really don't like Troy. The truce is broken, obviously, because Paris goes to fight Menelaus, and just as Menelaus is about to kill Paris, Aphrodite goes down to save Paris. Just as the Trojans are about to give Helen back to the Greeks, Hera and Athena convince a young Trojan archer to shoot a bow, or to shoot an arrow into Menelaus' shoulder, not killing him, but wounding him. And then this makes the war continue. The reason that Athena and Hera convinced this Trojan archer to shoot Menelaus and break the truce is because they just simply think that the war cannot end without Troy falling. So we see a lot of interference with the immortals in this story, and we will see more to come.